This is the UNspecial podcast. Today I am joined with Olivia Rojas, and I am super excited to have her on. I've been following your content for some time, and I appreciate your faith
Thank you.
intertwined with the medical side of things. I mean, seeing everything you do for your daughter um, is a lot.
It is. It is.
What got you started on that journey? And yeah, so let's just go way back to the beginning.
Well, honestly, I think you have to really drop down to your knees in prayer when there's nothing else left.
Yeah.
And I think once I got to that point where I didn't have anything else left and I had to take it to God, that's where I really started going hard when it came to doing everything that I'm doing now. I always and I'll admit before I didn't have this much faith. Before I was trying things, giving up, trying things, giving up. But now, through the season of puberty, for us, it really opened a different portal that I never in my life imagined was going to be this level of hard. And I didn't have any other choice but to either crumble, resort to antipsychotics, resort to mood stabilizers like everybody wanted me to,
Yeah.
or take a different route and do better for my child. So that's what got us here, the breaking point, truly.
Yeah. So, all right, you bring up an interesting point when you say do better. And this has kind of been my mindset with all of the hype in the autism world on finding a cause.
Yes.
And I know I mean I'm seeing things objectively.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't have any children on the spectrum. Um, I taught for 7 years, so I only know what I know. I
Yes.
know what I know from the classroom.
Yes.
And so, objectively, looking like zoomed out, my thought is, why is there so much controversy in wanting to find a cause? Well, A, it's the people finding the cause is part of the controversy. And
Mm-hmm.
then, but B is like, okay, say we find it, and it's going to make things better going forward because we have more info and more intel, and then from that we can find new therapies and natural things, which we're going to get into.
Mm-hmm.
um, from your side of things, I mean, you have 3 children with autism.
No, I have
One.
just my child, but I recently started talking about how we had 3 children around the same age regress. I mean, losing all skills that they had acquired, who are cousins from the same side of the family. They all regressed exactly after a wellness visit. All 3 of them, 3 girls. One of them actually already had Down syndrome, but she spoke. She would even go to church, say hallelujah.
Yeah.
And after that same exact wellness visit, she also regressed. We have 3 in the family.
Which 18 month?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
What are
And
the
a very specific, jab.
yeah, what
Same one,
which one, MMR or which one?
MMR. And to, make that clear, I'm not here saying that I believe that the MMR causes autism. That's not what I'm saying. And a lot of people like to hear what you're not saying. And they'll even say like, so you're saying no. What I am saying is that it was a tipping point for us. Is there genetic predisposition? I'm pretty sure there is. Right now, we're in the middle of getting a whole genome, type of genetic testing, because even the geneticists and neurologists now, with everything I'm going through with my daughter, when I disclose this, they're like, that's not normal. Exactly. Right. And it's crazy because people will still fight you about that. They'll just kind of say, well, it's a coincidence. The timing's a coincidence, correlation, causation. How are you going to say that to somebody that has observed 3 little girls regress, lose all skills, same exact time after that? So when the third one happened to the third one, that's when I dove deep learning about this. And you know what? You get to a point where you're just tired of staying quiet because you see that they're finally starting to kind of talk about it. And I'll be real with you. I had to join groups that are like, hidden groups of moms that are so desperate because they know what happened. Then we have to communicate. Like, you're just like, I know what happened. There's nothing like watching your child regress and lose skills week by week when you know the words that they used to say, when they used to look at you. Regression is a whole different type of grief.
Yeah.
If it was never there, never developed, that's different. But when it was there, when you were called mama and you were looked at, you saw your two little girls play, you saw her play with toys, and all of a sudden things just start to disappear, and you just see kind of like the light in your child's eyes disappear. You're just losing them, and you're just trying to grab them back, like, what's going on? It's different. And that's what I don't think people understand. They want to just put everything under one umbrella. They want to identify with the word autism because if you're autistic, you have to be part of this discussion. No, there's some of us that experienced it differently, and we need to accept that. That some of us went through a completely different path. We got here through very different reasons, and that we deserve to be seen and validated because it's true. And you can show people the proof, and they'll still argue with you. But that's kind of where it's at right now. Now I'm being told, like, you know what, we think you've been right all along, because I'm presenting what I need them to test because they don't know or haven't known how to approach any of this. So what I'm trying to say, I'm not saying, again, documenting verbally, I'm not saying that I believe vaccines cause autism. What I'm saying is that there are vulnerable children that have immune systems that are more vulnerable. Maybe they've had prior infections in the past, they've taken antibiotics, which has stripped them from, their healthy parts of the immune system. Many different variants, reasonings. It could be gene mutations. It could be a different mitochondria, which is our cells. And all that isn't looked at before. So they're already kind of weak when it comes to their immune system, their insight, the way they process things. So it's a tipping point that causes, one, for my journey,
Yeah.
immune dysfunction. Instead of immunity, it caused immune dysfunction,
Mm.
right? So then immune dysfunction, what does that do? So then you have like antibodies, right? That they try to obviously conquer the virus that's being injected. It's a live attuned virus. I don't think a lot of people know that it's actually alive, not fully alive. And it's three viruses that are alive, plus the fourth one, which is the varicella. And they're injected alive, live attuned, into your bloodstream, right? So, yes, the whole point is to build immunity. They're supposed to be, your body's supposed to defend you, build antibodies to, attack this virus, build immunity, and you're immune to it. That's how it's supposed to work. And it does. It does truly for a lot of kids, and it gives them that protection and all of that. For some, they go through something called molecular mimicry. What that means, it's like antibodies that then get confused, for layman's terms, and they start attacking literally your child's tissue. Think about it. You're being injected with a virus. There could be confusion at one point for some. And that is what we are seeing is that, we track it down happened to my child and, the other two, but I'm the one that's really just connecting all the dots when it comes to all the lab work that we're now having to do, lumbar punctures and so many other things like EEG and so much. And it's because none of this was detected prior to.
Right. And it's kind of like it's like a game of Russian roulette. You have no idea.
No, you don't. And I mean, when you see your child disappearing, you panic, you enter survival mode, and then you start seeing their outer behaviors. And when I was a former teacher too, inclusion teacher, I taught kids that, had low support needs, they are sometimes moderate. I never had children in the classroom who were not speaking, but I did have a variety of different, type of students with amazing different brains and qualities and everything. So I've known for years, what the behaviors look like. I grew up with a cousin that has profound autism.
Yeah.
I mean, as a
You've been around.
child, I've been around the like different scopes of autism. That's why I feel like I can speak about it from
Yeah.
different perspectives. I don't do it in an arrogant manner where like this is what I believe because it's my journey. This is how it happened just to me. I've seen it in so many different scopes. And I think that one of the things we lack is we don't stay curious enough. We just want to stick to the way we went through it, unfortunately, to the way that some, reels tell you that you like or people that you get along with. You stick to what you the side you agree with. That is such a disservice, don't you think? Like only researching the side you agree with.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been the type that kind of like when you're in court, right? You're a jury. I listen to both sides. I have to, so I can
Totally.
get both sides, both ideas, and then have my own thinking on it. Not just be convinced just based on one side. You have to grab from both and really like, stay curious.
Yeah. And that's why I love this space because I get just multiple perspectives. And then I always, early mornings when I process the best is when I start to think about all these things. And then you start to formulate your views. And
Yes.
that's free speech. That's what this country needs. And then as of last week with Charlie Kirk's shooting, he was shot for that, and
Yes.
it's like, where are we going? What is
I think
happening?
a lot of people are confusing their opinion as a fact. I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of people can separate that a fact is a fact and your opinion is not a fact. No matter how much you push on it, you pester it, if you can't prove it with a paper or data or then it's still your opinion. And we could agree to disagree because that's what opinions are for, and I think we've lost that. We want our feelings to be agreed upon. We want our opinions to be agreed upon. That's not how it works. It should be discussions, and then you can agree to disagree or be like, you know what? Fair point. I had never thought of that. And
Hmm.
that's why, for me, what has helped me is staying curious my whole life because my people can quickly say, "Oh, so autism runs in your family." They'll try to shut me down like that, right?
Right.
Actually, no, not on my side because, well, on his my uncle, right? My uncle by law who married my aunt
Hmm.
does have a nephew who's neurodivergent. His sister also has a nephew who's neurodivergent. But that's when we need to pose the question, and that's where I think this is what all this is about. Why is my cousin profound? And his cousin from his aunt is neurodivergent, low support needs. Why don't we want to know why some of our kids are profound?
Yeah.
Like they're the ones that suffer and hurt the most. And later on I found out that my aunt actually got a really bad infection when she was pregnant with him. So then my mom told me that story. So going to that on staying curious is when I heard the story that for him it crossed his brain blood barrier, the
Oh.
infection.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives you the answer as to like, okay, there was a genetic predisposition, right, when it comes to him and my uncle's side of the family, but this infection that crossed his brain barrier led him to, be profoundly autistic in his case. And that's what I don't think people are open to hearing, that things can cross your blood brain barrier that can actually cause you to, be more severe on the spectrum. Doesn't mean you were supposed to be or that you were born that way all the time, but there's some kids that's how it happened for them, you know? And it's so complex and we want to just
Yeah.
leave it as linear and we can't. And, so I grabbed that and it stayed with me. And then I remember hearing also a family member who's the father of one of the little girls that also regressed. We were just talking, and he had a kind of like a medical workup through like an integrative doctor. And he was telling us, that everything came out fine, that the only thing that they told him was that he had an abnormally slow detox gene. Huh. So I grabbed that too.
Yeah.
So those are two things that I've already in my lived experience through different types of family and resources that always stayed with me. I got those things, I applied them into what was going on with my daughter, and I was able to connect a lot of dots. And that's the thing, we have to stay curious,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And then it's all to hear one side continually say like, oh, the cause has been debunked, like vaccinations don't cause autism. It's been debunked over and over and over again.
Oh, you want me to touch base on that one?
But and then you get studies coming out on this 661 trials of where the vaccines are tested against a placebo, and then you dive into those trials, and they're not in fact tested against placebo. They're and then you hear Aaron Siri come out in a Senate subcommittee meeting. Now we're going really off course, but it's fun. Uh, on a vax versus unvax study.
Yes.
And this is conducted by a very, very pro vax scientist at the Henry Ford medical, I don't know what it's called. And then they're coming out with, statistics like 4.29% times to have asthma, or 3%, 3 times higher to have atopic disease, almost 6 times higher to have autoimmune. And then you just look at the country as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
We're the most vaccinated country, and we have the highest rates for chronic illness.
Yep. Because,
Some recently, like 76% is coming out for children.
yes,
And so
yes.
you think of it objectively, and I'm not here to like push my
Objectively is a perfect word.
push my beliefs, but I'm taking all this in, like you're saying, and then you kind of just like start to see things as a whole, and then you have weeks like last week with school shooting and Charlie Kirk shooting, and then you start to see, like you and I both know, that our fight isn't against flesh and blood.
No, it's not.
It,
Especially now. No, it's loud and clear now.
it's
It's
it,
really loud and clear.
and then I mean, I just pray that a revival happens and all this information starts coming out. Everyone starts to wake up,
Absolutely.
and
And I think it's because a lot of us, and I was, that's how I thought too. I thought vaccines, for example, were simply just meant to protect you. That's as
yeah,
basic as I thought of it. You get one, you're protected from getting that, and that's it. That's what I used to think myself until I had to walk this journey. I'm not anti-vax. That's not what it's about. But when you've gone through this process, you have to ask questions like, are you kidding me? How am I not going to? And there's now a video floating around that's posing a very good question about, what they're going to release October 3rd, I believe it is, that why are
an
we not looking
inconvenient study.
yes, why are we not looking at the one thing that alters your immune system?
Yeah,
You know, I mean, and this thing, it's injected into your body and your blood. It's not like you're getting it airborne, or like through contact. It is directly bypassing your muscle, your skin, injected into your bloodstream. What is it going to do in there? Where does it go? Why are we not thinking that deep? And like I said, so going back to the debunk study, right? Because that's my favorite when they bring that one up. So with that one, they did not include the subgroups of children that have, for example, maybe a more vulnerable, immune system that may have a different or, more vulnerable mitochondria that have autoimmune, like maybe it's in the family. Because I have an autoimmune disorder that I didn't even know I had. I recently found out after they thought I had ovarian cancer. And it turned out that what I have is like an autoimmune disorder, which I was never told. And it's an MTHFR, also gene mutation. Never told either. I found out just about a year or two ago. So the thing is that if we don't know these things, autoimmune means your system is vulnerable.
yeah,
And then I hear moms out there that are their moms to autistic children. They talk about having an autoimmune disorder. And I'm like there's connections out there that makes our children more vulnerable, right? Now add something that completely alters their immunity.
yeah.
It's not, and so it's people can say, well, yeah, what does that have to do with autism? Because I've had that question before, right? And it's like,
Everything.
look, I'm like, it doesn't cause it. And I agree with them. I'm like, it doesn't cause it. But what does happen? It does cause immune dysfunction.
Yeah,
It does cause, or it can cause mitochondrial dysfunction. And guess what? What does that look like on the outside? And that's what I ask now. I'm like, if someone has immune dysfunction, someone regresses, and then has mitochondrial dysfunction, what do you think it would look like on the outside? How would they act? I don't know exactly. So the way they act, it's behaviors that look exactly like what? Autism. So then what happens? It leads to an autism diagnosis. So I'm not saying they cause autism, but they do cause immune dysfunction in some. And then that can later on lead to an autism diagnosis because no one looked further like, this regression isn't normal. Let's look to see what is going on inside this child. They take regression as, oh, that's just how it happens sometimes. The synaptic pruning, you lose some, you gain some, you keep some. Well, yeah, but guess what affected that synaptic pruning process?
Yeah.
And these are the things that we're told a lot of truths by omission, by deception, by wordplay. And that's why we have to just really ourselves stop and think, stay curious, and that's what
Bring
I
some
mean.
logic.
Yes, and that's what I mean about the debunk study. And to be honest, another thing I did is I want to listen to this Andrew Wakefield guy because, man, have they just ran the ground with him. So I listened to like 3 podcasts of his. I wanted to go directly to the source because we should.
Yeah.
And he explained that he was never against the MMR trying to take it away or, cancel whatever, that he first said, you know what? I think it should, yes. That's all he wanted. And the ego and who he took this to, they're like, who are you? Because I think he's a GI specialist. They're like, you're not going to tell us what to do. He's like, I just think 3 is too much. 3 live attuned viruses. And from what I'm observing in, the study, it's doing something. So you know what? Let's separate. That's all he wanted. And he wasn't trying to completely like erase it. And hearing that, I was like, oh my God, like that's what I asked my pediatrician for.
Yeah.
I asked her, can you separate it? And she told me I could.
Okay.
And I don't know if you saw my stories on that when I was telling my story on how it all happened.
I didn't see it.
Yes. So the
Do
way,
tell.
so what happened, okay, for example, already with me, when I was pregnant with my oldest, I got the flu shot. I wanted to protect her and myself, right? That's what I wanted to do. Immediately the second day, I felt ill with a horrible cough, like to the point where and it lasted 6 months. Nobody could figure out why it wouldn't go away. I was given antibiotics. They were trying everything. They sent me to a chiropractor because they were scared that I was going to break my ribs from how ugly that cough was.
Oh my gosh.
They told me, oh, you were probably already sick or about to get sick. It's a coincidence.
Ugh.
I believed it. Whatever, maybe so. Then my oldest daughter, she got the MMR. Everything was fine. And I noticed that her speech started to regress. So my oldest, we would practice, letters and sight words and things like that during her bath time. And her name is Layla. So she would say Layla, and she would practice her last name as well. So then when we were doing that same day after the MMR, she started going, I was like, what is happening? And she was struggling to speak after that. This is my oldest, not my autistic child. That alarmed me because I was like, well, today she had gotten the MMR. I brought this up to the pediatrician. She said, oh, you know what? Sometimes kids, when they gain a new skill, they lose another. It's normal. Don't worry about it. If she doesn't get a fever or other things don't happen, she should be fine. Give her Tylenol. That was what she told me about my first. Okay, I still stayed concerned. The letters and sounds she had acquired, she regressed on those. I tried to bring it up. I was dismissed as like, it happens, or it could be because she's striving to learn more on one thing and that skill is being lost. And I'm like, okay,
Well, that's so crazy that it's just like, oh, this is normal.
Yes.
No, it's not. I don't
Yes.
need to have a medical degree to say this is not normal.
So that's why I'm like, is anybody really going to sit here and tell me that I'm like this conspiracy theorist, anti-vax, crazy lady, like after you've gone through these things, and it will always hurt because I felt the Holy Spirit with Leah. to not do it, Zach. That is something that really just I struggled with, because when it was her turn, I brought up about what happened to my oldest, the speech regression. And I was convinced again it was a coincidence. And I said, okay, but I'm still scared. You can tell me it's a coincidence, but hello. So I asked her, I'm like, can I wait till she's older? I've read upon these things, and I know that it's 3-in-1 and they're live viruses. I educated myself. And I think that's a lot for a little body. So can we separate them? And she's like, you know what? Yeah, no one's died of the chicken pox. She's like, we should be fine. We'll separate them. I'm like, cool. I didn't even know that was an option. I
Yeah.
thought it was 3-in-1 and, that's it. So then I go back to another wellness check later. And I bring that up. I'm like, okay, so which one are we doing today? And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, which shot? The measles, or, which one? What are you talking about? It's all 3-in-1. That's what she told me. It's all 3-in-1. And I was like, we discussed this. You told me I could separate them. She's like, you can't do that. They have to be all in one. And I was like, I felt gaslit. Like, I'm going crazy. I'm like, but we had this conversation. And I was like, you know what? Then I don't want to do anything. Let me think about it, because this is not what we spoke about. And she's like, fine. But, just remember that you're putting her at risk the longer you take. Okay,
Now
thank
you
you. That
feel
makes
guilty.
exactly. You feel guilty. And I remember like crying home, like driving home, and like I'm like, this just doesn't feel right. So forward again, because I don't want to stay too long on this topic here, but it was time for her next appointment. Months later, I took her, and I had already made up my mind I'm not going to do it. I was like, and I even drove over there crying again, anxious. I could feel my heart beating. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm not. I just felt this sinking feeling. So I get there, and she checks her out, and then I'm like, by the way, I decided not to do it yet. I'm going to wait till she's a lot older. I can't shake this feeling. And she's like, okay, well, if that's the case, just know that I don't know if I can keep you in my practice.
Oh my gosh.
Because you're going to be putting other children at risk. And
I
just
gotta breathe. I'm holding my breath.
keep in mind that you're also putting her at risk. She made me feel this big. And as it is, I'm already like, just as a mother, you second guess yourself. You're like, am I doing the right thing? It's a lot. So we'll forever regret, because I will always wonder what if. And I know now that was the Holy Spirit telling me, don't. But I got gaslit and bullied into it, because I put what she made me feel like first. She made me feel like a bad mom. She made me feel this big. And I submitted, and I shouldn't have. And I said, okay, you're going to put it, just the MMR. That's it. No boosters, no nothing. And it's going to be the only one. And we're going to wait months before you even give any other booster or whatever it may be. And I gave in.
Mm.
So after that, 2 weeks later, the regression happened. And I have, a lot of us who went through regression, we have those videos where we go back and we mourn, because week by week. I remember even typing in a forum, like a mom's forum, like, I feel like I'm losing my child. She's not responding to her name anymore. Her eyes look different. I see a glaze in her eyes. And they're like, oh, she's still too little. It's, just give her some time. That's, but I knew what was happening at that point. And I recorded and documented the change, because I knew. And that's my story there. So that's my story, plus add on 2 other little girls in the family who went through it as well.
That's a lot.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And the crazy part is, like, going back to the immune dysfunction. So that obviously was the first event of immune dysfunction, right? Which caused regression, which the cause was the MMR that led to an immune dysfunction, right? So that's what it led to. But what was it diagnosed as? Autism, right? So when that happens, if the immune system's already in chaos, guess what? You're now more vulnerable to more immune dysfunction. So say your child gets strep, your child gets COVID. We're seeing a lot with the COVID babies, also the flu A, B, whatever. Those, evidently, my child was not one that could filter things out. as she should. And then it led, she wanted to start talking like around 3, 4, like at 4 years old, she wanted to start talking again. COVID happened. Boom.
Oh,
COVID, so it caused a secondary immune dysfunction in her. And she regressed again. And I didn't understand that back then. I didn't know what was going on. But now I know because I know what to look at and I've looked back. And she was never able to really filter out or detox properly any of the other types of viruses that have hit her because of the first immune dysfunction occurrence. And it made her even more vulnerable overall in her immune system instead of just providing immunity from what it was supposed to. That's what happened to my kid.
yeah.
That's been our journey, and it's crazy when you try to tell it and people just, you
No,
know,
that's not true. What do you know?
yeah,
You have no
yeah,
idea.
yes. And so then now we're on our third immune dysfunction, which is puberty. And I truly pray, to God for like many of the mothers out there that they never deal with what some of us have dealt with when it comes to puberty. I also didn't know puberty alters your immune system because your hormones, they change,
Yeah.
and that kind of just was like the gasoline that really lit a fire everywhere. And it was just undeniable that something was going on because once puberty hit, she became a completely different kid. Like, completely. I'm talking about just manic episodes. A lot of people don't like this word, but I'm too tired to tippy toe aggression, you know? Um, and it was just, we entered a world that we just did not understand, and we all had PTSD because of it. And worst of all, seeing your child that way and not knowing what is happening. So now they're finally investigating those antibodies that have been there this whole time. But guess what? Now gasoline was poured on them,
Yeah.
because I was, I guess you could say, lucky enough when I went to the neurologist because I had to beg to get into a neurologist. Where I'm located, neurologists don't see autistic kids unless you have proof that they've had a seizure. It took me
Really?
2 years. It took me 2 years. I would call and they're like, "Well, do you have proof that they've had seizures?" Or like, I'm like, "No, well, she's autistic, but I think she's had seizures. She can't tell me. She's non-speaking." Well, you need proof before we see you. So I kept getting dismissed until one new neurologist came and she was willing to see us.
Okay.
She came from, I think, New York or Rhode Island. I don't remember where. My daughter had an episode in front of her and actually attacked her there. And she saw like there was no reason for that reaction. Like there was no trigger. I'm like, exactly. When like there's sensory meltdowns, there's something that might have triggered it. You can kind of, when it comes to autism, you become a pro at that in a sense, right? I mean, you always keep learning, but it got to the point where like there was no trigger whatsoever, no causation. She would just flip. And she was able to see that. And she even saw how her eyes changed, her face structure. And she's like, okay, we need to look deeper. And I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
please,
Uh huh.
and that's once that started happening, like I said, that's what brought me to my knees in prayer. Like, I don't have anything else. I don't know how to help her. And I just, guide me into how I can help her and what to do. And that's why I'm doing everything I'm doing now, because all they wanted to do was put her on Abilify.
Mm.
And I told them, I'm like, well, she suffers from chronic constipation that causes you to binge eat. So what are we going to do? Like, how do I handle that? Just keep Miralax at hand.
Oh gosh. Oh man. Yeah, it's like when you start to dig into the root causes of things, unfortunately, a lot of the therapies out there are just a band aid. But you're
Yes,
definitely inspiring on diving into the actual what is going on, and let's address that. And I mean, the nervous system plays a huge role in that as well.
absolutely.
um, Man, I just podcasted with a PX doc, a nervous system chiropractor, and
We've seen one. They're amazing.
oh yeah, I mean, I'm taking my family this week, and yeah, talking with her, it's like, oh, The nervous system plays a massive role in all of this, and it all starts in utero.
It does. And if you have a very stressed out mother,
Yes.
and now with society, what's expected of us from, not trying to get all when it comes to roles here, but I was a full-time teacher too, and had half of my class had IEPs. I had two toddlers. You're still expected to, be a good wife, a good mother at home. Like you're just, if you're constantly stressed, and that's where I know PX Docs is starting to get data from that too. If we're dysregulated, we're messing with their nervous system too,
Yeah.
and it's how can I explain it? I'm tired of the like we can't blame moms. No, it's not about blaming us. With all due respect, I'm blaming Western medicine because if you knew this during our pregnancy, or if you knew this about our kids, we wouldn't be here. So, I've seen doctors out there, pediatricians trying to like, and now they want to blame moms. And now it's not something you did, mom. It's not your fault that your child this or that. I'm like, no, it's not. It's your fault. It's your fault. And I think that's where we need to flip that feeling guilty as a mother and realize we shouldn't. It's not our fault because we trusted who and what. We trusted the doctors, the pediatricians, the gynecologists. We trust them because we're supposed to, right?
Yeah.
So I've really been annoyed with seeing a lot of pediatricians and discussing about what they're trying to find out regarding autism, and right away they like hang on to that topic of like, no, and now they're trying to blame the moms, and now that they're trying, it's not your fault, mom. No, it's not. It's yours.
Yeah. It's just we got kicked out of a pediatrician's office about 6 months ago. My fourth child, he was born 9 weeks early. He spent 9 weeks in the NICU. I've shared this before, and he was born just under 3 pounds. He took in 2 rounds of chemo,
Like,
as because we found out when he was 25 weeks that my wife had cancer, and numerous pain meds,
mm-hmm.
like all of it, and it was life or death. And so it was hard to do it, but we didn't have a choice. He came
Yes.
out. He came out 9 weeks early. And I'll never forget this. We're like 3 days into the NICU. I'm going up to the eighth floor. My wife's on the fifth floor. I'm just going back and forth all day. And they come in. He's got tubes coming out. He can hardly breathe. And they're like, "Oh, it's time for the Hep B shot." And I'm like, "Okay, everyone, pause." I was like, I'm not gonna get fired up. I'm gonna stay calm. But can we
Yes.
can we just like logically assess this situation right now? Like he took in chemo. He's 9 weeks early. He's not developed. He's got oxygen going down his throat, and he's getting fed formula. He's premature formula fed, and he was on a bunch of Tylenol, which I know is a hot topic.
Glutathione lowers the detox. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, and now you want to inject this into him for something he is never gonna he can't get it. We already
Yeah.
know my wife doesn't have it, and he's not gonna go inject himself with drug needles or sleep around. Like what?
Yes, and now they're saying that it's because it could happen another way in the liver. I don't know what, but like okay, at that point you're gonna evaluate
The
pros
risk,
and cons,
yes.
and they even tell you if you're sick, you have a fever, you should not vaccinate your child that day or take them because their system is what it's weak, right? So again, connect the dots. And with your child, for example, hello, it was common sense. But the thing is, either they don't know or they're trying to meet a quota. I don't know, or both.
And
That's the
everyone has to
thing.
stay on the schedule, which
Yes.
back to with your daughter, like why is it everyone's on the same schedule? Whatever. um, what? How did you? Because I mean, I'm watching my. He's about to turn 1 in a week.
Mm,
I'm always watching him, especially with my background in teaching and his development. I mean, he's delayed because he was 9 weeks early, but he's starting to hit those milestones, whatever. How did you and the mom guilt? I
Mm-hmm.
was just even talking to my wife about mom guilt this morning because
Yes.
she has mom guilt because she can't be um, so connected with him because she's
Mm-hmm.
fighting her stuff.
Yes.
How did you work through that early on,
You know what?
or even still to this day?
I have to admit, and that's how I can say, I'm like, God has saved me, redeemed me,
Yeah,
because back then I did dive into like alcohol a lot,
yeah,
just to numb, because I kept that feeling of I shouldn't have, I knew better. I blamed myself.
yeah.
And to numb that, I had to depend on something that would numb me. And I did resort to, drinking in a way where I was still functioning, but to numb that pain. And I started overworking myself as a teacher as well, a lot, just to stay,
Gotcha.
and I realize it now that I've healed. I was trying to save the students that were struggling within my classroom, and I would pour into them because I wanted to save somebody, since I felt like I let my child down. And that now that I look back, I can see what the way I was coping and what I was trying to do. And I'm talking about planning individual lessons per kid.
Wow.
Okay. And I had half of them had an IEP, and weekends laminating, looking at their IEP, what that kid needed, what this kid needed, just because I wanted to save a child,
And
because I felt so guilty.
for the listeners, that is a ton of work.
Yes, it is. It really, really is. And that's how I coped. It wasn't, I don't, and I dove into early intervention, right away. Therapies, everything, just everything. I didn't allow myself to grieve or to mourn crying wise. I coped, numbing myself, alcohol, overworking myself, trying to, help the kids, therapies. And that's how I kind of numbed it all. And now I realize in reality, I was suffering. I was truly suffering. And I don't think anyone ever understood the guilt that I felt, because I knew the Holy Spirit had warned me. I had 3 warnings: the flu shot with me, my daughter, also that regressed in her speech. Even though thankfully she's graduated from that, she doesn't need speech therapy anymore. And then, my daughter. And that's not even it. Like, there's been 2 other kids in the same family who regressed in their speech only afterwards. But, the family neglected the MMR and they were able to regain skills. So they didn't take the one that, was the tipping point of things, if that makes sense. Because we started kind of seeing like something is up. Again, genetic predisposition, not denying it, but you always have to wonder, okay, there's a lot of neurodivergence on the family, possibly, whatever. Oh, it's genetics, or it's because I have it. Cool. But why did they regress into profound or not speaking? Why do we not want to know that?
Yeah.
That's right there, the detail that I think people are missing. We want to know why some of these kids aren't level 1, aren't, low support needs. What got them to profound? Because we don't want any of those kids to go through that,
Mm-mm.
to live that life. I don't, unless you lived it, you have no idea.
No idea.
No idea. I mean, and I think when we're very arrogant when our kids are young, we grieve when the autism diagnosis happens. We rise into these very loud advocates. Let me tell you, puberty and adulthood it will humble you.
Interesting.
And I don't think we realize what it's like when they're adults. And for example, I'll give a quick story regarding my aunt and my uncle. It takes 3 people to take my cousin to the doctor. 3. When they've done that, one time they did, and he eloped, and my uncle tried to stop him. He knocked him down, and my uncle got a concussion. It's 3 adults. So my point on all this, and my passion, has been like, why not target this while they're little, when it's easier, before it gets to that point?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we want to do that? Because once they're your size, once they're even, you're getting older, they're getting stronger, guess what? Then what? I don't think people think of that, getting to that point. They're just in the now. And, it's some that can backfire.
Yeah, do you think some like subconsciously the finding the cause for some people
I know where you're going because
they
that's what I think.
they don't,
Protection.
yeah, they don't even want to know because then maybe
Absolutely.
some of that guilt would come into play.
Yes, and that's actually, yes, because I've been there, right? And again, I'll give my credit to God. Imagine me not sharing my testimony. You have to share your testimonies. You have to turn your pain into purpose. That's just what will heal you. And I think, you know, through a healing process, you realize a lot of people project. A lot of people project their pain. A lot of people, it's amazing what the brain will do. It will protect you from hard truths. It will protect you from what you don't want to know. It's crazy, and you can see it by the way people communicate, by the way they talk, what they're doing. And I remember seeing a quote that said, "Where you are the most arrogant in is where your biggest pain is in. It's where it's laid." So wherever you are the most arrogant and loud, that's where your deepest pain is. And I think a lot of it is to protect thinking. So you're saying it was my fault, a decision I made. I think that has a lot to do with it, but I think we need to change our perspective to it's not your fault. To any mom out there, it's not your fault. It never has been and never will be. It's the medical system's fault that we trust and we're supposed to trust. So it's
Mm.
never any mother's fault. Anything she did, I agree with that. It's not. It's them. But they're going to try to obviously, it's not their fault.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
That's
and you only know what you know.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought that up because not people get that deep on like the way I think because you've been through a lot, you and your wife, and the pain you've been through, pain changes you.
Oh yeah.
It really, the way your brain works and processes and the veil that's lifted from ego, from pride, like your ego needs to die, right?
Yes.
When you go through pain to heal.
Yep.
And that's why I'm amazed that you brought that up because not a lot of people would catch that aspect of it.
I'm glad I did. Well,
Yes.
I always say pain is the path.
Yep.
And, through pain and adversity, yeah, you really start to think different. You start to show up different. And, from a faith perspective, God can use it for his glory. And
Absolutely.
so we should welcome pain because what are we even doing here? We're here to serve and we're here. And it's same in marriage. Like people
Yes.
get all hopped up on marriage is hard, marriage is this and this and this, but it's like marriage isn't for your happiness,
No.
it's for your holiness. And that
Absolutely.
is a lot of too what Charlie Kirk was so courageous about is the family unit. And
Absolutely.
I learned a ton from that guy. That was difficult. It is difficult.
It is. And it's because a lot of us live in our flesh. When you live in your flesh, your whole mindset is different.
So
But
different.
once you crucify your flesh, and you have to do that daily, not even just once,
Daily.
twice, daily. It's amazing when you lead with the spirit. It's amazing how different your perspective is, and how you show up. Even how you speak to others, how you comprehend. Because a lot of the times I'm like, that's not what this person's saying. Like it's they're literally always hearing what that person's not saying,
Yep.
or they're choosing to get offended. It's beyond me how many people are like that, or they just respond to argue. They did not hear a thing you said. They're just waiting for you to be quiet so they can argue.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, there's so much low emotional intelligence out there, or maybe comprehension. I don't know, like the teacher in me, sometimes I'm just like, wow, no inferencing, no critical thinking, like it's really, it's saddening. And it's even worse when it's even within your own community, like that you're kind of, I don't want to say martyred, but you like people will just completely, no, I don't agree with you, so I no longer like you, and it's like, wow, like we still have the same struggles, we still need the same things. Like even people within the community will be that way. But I think we've seen a lot of that too, even within the Christian community also.
Yeah. And it's kind of just all points to we need God. We need more
Yes,
God.
yes, yes,
And
that's
even like I heard an explanation. My buddy was giving a sermon to all his college students, and it's like this is the logical explanation of a nation without God. As it, like it's pretty obvious now. It's pretty apparent.
Hmm.
So that's wild. So well, let's get into some of the. How old's your daughter now?
Today's actually her birthday. She's
Oh,
10.
nice. Happy birthday.
Yes, yes, she's
Well,
10.
first, what are you gonna do? What are you guys doing?
We'll probably, when we pick up her sister, probably go to, We Rock the Spectrum, take her to go have a little bit of fun and all of
Nice.
that. See, and that's the hard part because I have to kind of read what kind of day she's having.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the plan. And I'm still going to bake her cake. I don't know how it's going to come out, but gluten free, dairy free,
Is it
low sugar. I'm doing all the things because I'm
carrots and sweet
staying,
potatoes?
uh, I'm staying super strict when it comes
Yeah.
to her gut because I mean, everything that I've been doing, glory to God, has been working. And I've never in my life thought I would see her eat what she's eating now. It
No way.
amazes me. It amazes me how working on her gut has changed her palate and her cravings and what she's willing to eat. And so I'm like, why would I stop now? Even if
Let
it's her
let's
birthday.
yeah. No, let's get into some of that. Like what were you doing and what are you doing now and how have you seen improvement?
You know what? A lot of it, I was because, she started menstruation very young. And
Yeah.
that was, as it is, that can hurt the gut, and now add gut issues, now chronic constipation. So again, we go back to puberty just being the tipping point of like just so much dysfunction in her little body. I had to do something to help her. I cannot take her menstruation away. I can't, so and I'm not going to do that. It's not natural. God decided it should come, then it came. So then I had to do it some way, somehow, and I had to work through the chronic constipation and through the gut. And so what I started doing, and I have to give a lot of credit to, I think her name is Chelsea. I think her handle is Holistic Psych School, something like that. I've learned
Okay.
a lot from her, and also from Taka, the Autism Community in Action.
Hmm.
Have learned from them for years. They're a great resource, and I've gone to their in-person conferences understanding what gluten free is. It's not just something you do for fun. No, it has a deep purpose, especially with non speakers. And dairy free, blocking, folate, because dairy does that, which, our kids need folate to speak. Not all of them, but that's one of their deficiencies for a lot. So I dove deep on learning about all that, and I started cooking in that way. The things that she used to eat, I replaced them with things that looked like it, little by little, little by
Okay.
little, little by little.
Little hack
Um,
right there.
it started with even like her gluten-free pastas, making my own broth. That was anti-inflammatory, like little changes,
Yeah.
little by little. And what started happening is like the inflammation started to go down. Her lab work showed it. So once she got another set of lab work done, her inflammation on certain blood work had gone down.
Wow.
Guess what? Her behaviors, they went down too. It's all connected.
What are those victories like for you? They got to be incredible.
I'm telling you, I have
Jump
like
through the roof.
cried to, yes, I have cried to God. Like, I'm like, this is you. It can't be me. I give him all the glory for it because she's 9. I've been trying to change her diet since she was, she used to eat everything, but then all that stopped. But since she was like 3, 4, and she's stubborn. My girl is stubborn. She's one of those that is just it's her way or the highway. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Carlito's Way. We used to say Leah's way. She's just so. I never in my life thought it was possible. So yeah, I mean, it feels like like winning the lottery for me, to be honest, because that's what it is in our journey. To for her to be able to eat healthy and for her to feel better because she's eating healthy and foods that don't cause inflammation, that don't cause, stomach pain spasms, which 70% of autistic kids or more suffer from gut issues,
Yeah.
and we can't just dismiss that. Why should we?
Right.
For, I mean, I'm going to be honest, for what? For our convenience? Like, was it hard? Yes, it
Yeah.
was. I would cry because I would feed her and she wouldn't eat it. My mom used to help me a lot with that. She used to, and that's where I got my strength from too. She used to make like, I would call her my muffin lady, muffins for her with different nutrients. And if she would throw them, she would make another batch. Let me adjust the ingredients, throw it again, another batch until Leah would Leah would smell it. And I guess for some reason she accepted that one. I don't know why, or that batch. So then my mom's like, okay, this is going to be her permanent batch. And little by little, I'm going to adjust the ingredients, with like healthier stuff, flaxseed, things like that. That's who my mom was. So holding on to that, how am I supposed to just give up when she never did,
Mhm.
even until the day she passed, like that was who she was as a grandma and as a mom to me. She would do it until it got achieved. That's the model that I had.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing.
I had to grab myself from her example, and not stop until it was achieved. And I saw a mom recently said that throw your timeline out the window, throw it out the window. It could take, a year, it could take 10, who cares? Don't stop,
Yeah,
you know? And
that's
that's been the mentality.
that's a powerful mindset because we
Yeah,
put so much pressure on ourselves to achieve X by X date or whatever.
yes, yes,
That's good. I'm gonna hold on to
yes.
that.
But yeah, and I learned that it's because the bad gut bacteria is no longer commanding her brain because it's connected. You know,
Oh,
the brain, the gut,
yeah.
your vagus nerve, nervous system, all of it is not commanding anymore on what she should eat because the bad bacteria is the boss. And I
Oh,
don't
no
think we
way. So
realize
that
that.
trips out. So that's why she can eat these foods now because some of that bacteria is gone.
It's no longer controlling or commanding what she should, like, want to eat. And I'm talking about, she used to get her AAC device and just press on it, like she looked like she was just on one, like wanting that food. And a lot of it was like cheese based. It was like literally an addict. Now she barely even snacks, and it's
Jeez.
crazy how it alters your brain. It really truly does. And now it's just, she doesn't even request snacks. She knows her schedule for it, and that's it. Like, even her, I guess what you would call OCD regarding those snacks or snacking has gone down significantly. So
Amazing.
it is. And you see moms that do it, and you get encouraged and you get motivated. And that's what's amazing about, the community as well, because we all learn from each other. We all get strength from each other, and all of that.
Yeah. What else? What else have you done? I know. So yeah, catch us up to today. Like, she's 10 now. Is she in?
She's 10.
She's in school.
No, I
Homeschool.
pulled her out
Okay.
because we went to a PX doc. I
Yeah.
mean, because I was so desperate on what is going on with her. And it turned into school trauma because they didn't understand her behaviors. They literally, like, at one point I walked in and they had her like in a little student desk. And you, as a teacher, you're gonna be ready. I walked in. Coincidentally, I was already at the school for my other daughter in a meeting. It was a little bit after school, and I was going to pick her up from the outside to keep the routine. The counselor was walking me, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to pick up Leah from the outside or inside, or outside to keep the routine?" And I'm like, "You know what? Yeah, let me just go on the outside. If we could just call her." She's like, "Okay." Holy Spirit, I felt something, and I was like, "You know what? No, let me go surprise her in the classroom. I want to see what she's doing." 5 minutes after school, Zach, they had my little girl in a student desk with shelves all around her student desk,
Uh,
trapping her, with like a little entry point like this. I walk in and she's like this on the
oh my
desk.
gosh.
Her eyelash is wet from tears. And I walk in and the teacher's like, "Hi." Like, and all the aides get up. No one was there. She was there alone because the kids had been dismissed. They had her shelf higher than she could see over. And on this side, the old me, let me tell you, I'd probably be in jail. I just somehow was able to compose myself. I didn't speak. I didn't say anything. She ran to me, hugged me, and I was like, "Let's go." I called an emergency ARD meeting immediately, and I prepared with an advocate, and I ran the ground with them on that one.
Good. Good.
Because, again, I'm not going to be arrogant either, and I show grace now. They couldn't handle the behaviors because her immune system was being attacked.
Yeah.
We entered an immune flare with PANS PANDAS, which is a kind of autoimmune psychiatric thing. They didn't know how to handle it. And I understand because we've had to handle it here and I know what it looks like, to the
Yeah.
point where it makes her sister cry. Her sister's like, "Mom, make it stop. Mom, make her stop. Mom, please help her. What can we do? Mom, make it stop." I've seen my other daughter like that when my autistic child has had episodes. It breaks you.
Yeah.
So she was to the point where she was flipping shelves in the classroom. That's how bad she would get. It angered me because I did try to collaborate with ABA to go in because, she does have compassionate ABA. My brother's actually an RBT. He got inspired by her and found his calling, thank God. And the teachers would dismiss it and dismiss it and dismiss it. And I'm like, you guys need to work together. They can help you. No behavior plan in place, no nothing. And I walked into that. So I pulled her out immediately. I said, you know what? No.
Yeah.
And that's what led me to focus on her nervous system, on her inner healing, her gut, because that's more important than she's probably being under taught in there anyway, to be honest.
Totally.
Because they just, I feel when our kids who are non-speaking get to this puberty age, they're so done with the ABCs, one, two, threes, and just watered down curriculum. And since, there's no spell to communicate either, implemented where they usually thrive, how they're supposed to, they're just fed up also. So I pulled her out and I'm prioritizing her inner healing and health fully.
Yeah.
Academics can wait. We do practice them, but no, it's her spirit is first, her mental health is first, and her emotional health, all of that comes first.
Yeah, 100%. I took over a classroom one year and they had two students in the back room, same situation. And I remember I walked in the first day. I'm like, why are they back there? And as going into a new class or a new school year,
Mm,
all I see as a teacher is the IEPs. So I read through them, and really on all of them, I couldn't care less about the academics. I just read the behavior. I'm like, how are all these behaviors going to intermingle in class, which is another conversation on how that's not
yes.
effective. But I remember they were in their rooms, and then the staff from the previous year were like, "Oh, they're too violent," and I'm like, "Okay, so we're ill-equipped to handle their violence. Um,
Mm,
let's take two steps back. What would you do if you're in a room all day by yourself staring at bookshelves?" And
absolutely.
then they're like, "Oh, I'd probably be pretty frustrated." I'm like, "Yeah, I'd probably be punching all of you in the face."
Exactly. And
So
that's why
bring
I'm
them
like,
in. Bring them in.
I,
We're
I
gonna have a
get it.
wild couple weeks, but
Yes,
we're gonna
it's
make it happen. And they weren't even that violent.
no, and that's they're usually misunderstood or they don't feel good. You know what I'm saying? And that's what was happening with my girl. Like when she was being misunderstood and she didn't feel good. And that's why I get it. We're supposed to fight for a lot of stuff in the schools and services, but I'm like,
Well,
let's
it's
be
never.
real. Are they even that great to begin
You're
with?
fighting a
Like,
system that's never gonna change, and
yeah.
even the training and just to become a teacher is a ton of book work in a
Mm-hmm.
classroom that sets you up for zero success in an actual everyday classroom.
Yes.
I was thankful because my route was I was an aide while I was in an online school, which I learned nothing.
Mm.
I learned everything as an aide, and thankfully I had two amazing
Because it's
mentors.
hands on,
Yeah, two amazing mentor teachers, and then I went straight into an internship into a violent, non-speaking, 7 kids autism program. And I had I had a observation teacher because I was still in my credential program, and she came in the first day. She got hit in the shoe with a shoe hit her in the head, and she never came back. I had to do all my meetings in the conference room with her, which was great because she shouldn't have been in there.
See, and that's the thing that a lot of the times it's because they're fed up with us. They're fed up with the teachers. They're fed up, like they're being misunderstood, like they're just so
Yeah,
dysregulated. Like my child was like I think it was three aides, special ed, and 10 kids. And I thought all was good because the teacher and I would text. And that's the thing that I don't think people realize, like, you don't know what really goes on in there. I thought I was very arrogant in the sense, like, I talk to the teacher, we communicate daily, we text even on the weekends. She loves my kid. There's no way that, she knows I mean business because I used to be a teacher, so she knows I know my stuff. I still found my child like that. Because let's be real, as parents, sometimes we struggle with our children. Sometimes they're too much for us,
yeah,
So what makes you think that a person that is not related to them or loves them like we do is not going to lose their mind with them,
yeah.
And I can give you an example. She was misunderstood. They would even keep her during lunch because they couldn't handle her in the cafeteria. And they didn't want to take her AAC device to the cafeteria. And it was just so much, but she kept requesting for the teacher paper and cow. The teacher thought she was calling her a cow. She was a little on the chunky side. I'm like, she's asking you to draw a cow because she likes to see you draw because it regulates her. When you draw and she sees you draw, it calms her. She was asking you to help her just bring her nervous system down to calm her. She was not calling you a cow. But if you would have teamed up with her ABA team, you would have understood that and not got offended or chosen to get offended by her saying cow on her device. Like,
Right.
you know? So think of how much our kids are misunderstood and how they lose it, or they're just tired of the same teaching and being under taught
Yeah, and then you pair it with people talking to them like babies
and talking about them.
in front of
A lot of
them.
the times that's what it is. A lot of the times that's what it is, that they've heard these teachers, aides, or whatever talk about them, because it can be easy to forget that they understand when they're not speaking. I've made that mistake myself with my child, and I've apologized to her. So that's why they get like that. Like, it's just so much to it. And I hope that we listen to non-speakers a lot more. That's actually one of like the things that I think we need the most. And to be honest, it baffles me when I see like accounts of non-speakers that have low following. I'm like, it takes everything in their fiber of their being to get these words out. It's literally miraculous that they can communicate. And they don't
Yes.
have mass followings, and you're watching a miracle right in front of your eyes. Please make that make sense. It,
Yeah. Because people get so caught up in the controversy behind it.
well, that, or they follow more like the other world
Yeah.
of autism that, is right now trendy, I guess. But to me, it just completely, I don't understand it. I'm like, you're witnessing a true miracle with these kids communicating. And it takes every fiber of their being, every muscle, everything, because of the mind body disconnect. And we're not supporting them more.
Right.
It's crazy to me. And they're the ones that need the most platform, and we need to listen to the most. And what's crazy and amazing is they have a lot of logic.
Yeah.
If everything that they say, they respond, they're just it's logic.
Yeah.
It's not about feelings or being offended. They're just so wise, and they need to be heard and listened to so much more.
Yeah. That is I always loved in class. That was probably the most exciting part, and why I love working with autistic or whoever is
Mm.
unlocking the brains and seeing them think and like process.
And who they are.
Yeah, it's fun, and I always loved doing it with inclusion,
Yes.
letting them experience life as everyone else. And yeah, a lot of the times it didn't go well. I mean, we got kicked out of Trader Joe's. One of my students knocked over the wine rack. I mean, you name it, on the public transport, the buses and the trains, like spilling cokes on passengers. Like, it was a disaster, but that was the most fun for me. I like, because you go into it, you're like, what's gonna happen? This is so
Yeah, you never
exciting.
know. You never know.
Right?
It's
And
very
then
unpredictable.
some days it's seamless. You're like, that was incredible. Good job,
Yes.
class. And then the
Mm-hmm.
next day it's not, but
And it's amazing because I remember, and this will never leave me. Someone told me that a non-speaker told them, "Show us grace. We want to be included. Show us love, but be strict with our bodies." Because so now I've noticed when I speak to my daughter, I speak to her body when I'm correcting her. Because so she knows, like, it's a way I validate the fact that I know that it's hard for her to control her body, that it's not her intentionally wanting to do those things. And she'll even go and she'll breathe. And that has helped tremendously for her to know that I don't attribute the way she behaves on the outside at times to who she is, but her body deceiving her. And
that's
that has really helped our relationship. Her knowing that I know that and I understand.
how does that look like?
Like if she, for example, just gets really upset and she'll like throw a glass, or like if she'll hit me, and I'll see like that she's like, and I'll be like, control your body. Okay, that wasn't kind. You need to be kind. I know it's hard to control your body, but you need to control your body. It's not nice to hit mommy. And she'll go, and she'll take a deep breath. I'm like, do you need a moment? Okay, go sit down, take a moment. And she'll go and take her, and I'll be like, are you ready? And she'll either tell me yes, or I'll be like, you know what? Your body right now is just not working with us. So I'm gonna finish this task without you until you feel ready, and I'll go check on her. So I speak to her body a lot.
Yeah,
That way, I don't ever want her to think that I think that's who she is.
no,
You know?
Have
Yeah.
does she like swimming?
Oh my, she is a fish.
I've
She
heard
loves
like
it.
a non-speaker describe swimming as they can feel their body in space.
Exactly. That's what it is. It quiets the noise and they feel their body. Yes, I mean, we couldn't get her out of there all summer, but she's kind of now like neglecting to go. I think she got kind of adverse to it because we were there all day, every day, her and I.
Yeah,
Yes.
wild.
Yes.
What gives you hope even on the hardest days?
Honestly, now that I know that on the hardest days, those are not like defining. They don't define her. They don't define autism even. And I know that the reason it's most of the time it's hard, it's because there's an underlying issue. And I can look for it, I can dig deeper, and I can work on it. I no longer accept that as being who she is or accept her autism. I guess you could say in the sense of like that the way she acts sometimes it's because she's autistic. No. No, it's because she's in pain. It's because there's something more going on. And I know that I have hope in the sense that I can look for those underlying things and help her and do something about it. And
Yeah,
that if I keep doing that, those struggles might completely disappear. Is it curing autism? No, that's
right.
not what we're doing. Like a lot of people think it's literally all the outer behaviors that disguise themselves behind her autism diagnosis. That a lot of people want to say, that's just autism.
It's just autism.
It's autism manifesting. Well, that's puberty and autism for you. No, no, a lot of it has been, I'll give you an example. I don't know what told me one day when she just had a really bad, aggressive episode. And after, like, I gathered myself because those are hard for me too, especially if I'm scratched and, hit and all that. And during that time, I pulled out my phone. I remembered for the next time and I put the light in her eyes and I was able to see her pupils had gotten bigger. And when I put the light in her eyes, they're supposed to shrink. They didn't. So imagine there's a lot of our kids, and that could be related to something called autonomic nervous system dysfunction. We're talking about nervous system, right? How it's attributed. The PX docs have talked about it. So I also documented that, and they're like, yeah, that's not normal. So imagine just accepting those aggressive episodes in our kids that come and okay, well, it's just part of autism. I have now found that actually, no, it's not part of autism. It's not the reason she does that's not because she's autistic or severely autistic. There's a dysfunction in her nervous system that's leading to that. So now that I refuse to just accept things as they are and I dig deeper, that I can help her. That's what gives me hope. Because if I just accept things as they are, that's hard. Especially right now in the season we're in.
Why do you think it? I mean, I guess it is easier to just accept things, or just say this is autism.
That or because you're directed, okay, well, it's getting harder. So go to a psychiatrist and get an antipsychotic. Go get a mood stabilizer. Put them on this pill, on that pill. This one at night, this one in the morning. Why? To keep them just zoned out and calm. I refuse to do that. And I'm not judging anybody who has, because right now she actually is taking an anxiety pill at night, a very low dose. But my mission and what I kept telling her doctors is like, I'm not going to do that for my benefit. First, I need to know if there's more stuff going on. Now, if there's nothing else and this is the level of autism we're dealing with and it's truly just autism, then okay, we'll start her on those types of medications. But first, let's dig deeper. And that's what I made them do. And we have been finding so many things.
Yeah,
So that is, kind of what led me here is just saying no to the normalcy of just going to a psychiatrist and, giving her giving her pills to calm what we were seeing and all the changes that we were seeing through puberty.
it's incredible. How do you take care of yourself? I think that one of the most overlooked, under talked, under appreciated aspect of all this is the parents. And I've always said the parents
Yes.
are the like that's why I started this podcast because I kept coming across parents of my students. I'm like, you guys are freaking nature. Like you are incredible, courageous, strong people.
Yeah,
And
and you know what?
like what how do you keep it going? I know you're a big proponent of exercise.
Oh yes.
I'm the same. Like I don't know how anybody gets through life without God and exercise.
That that's exactly my top two right there. And to be honest, I think COVID was a turning point for me when we were home because like I you know, I'm not ashamed to admit it because that's God's work and a testimony itself. I depended on alcohol a lot, like to just kind of numb so many things back then. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. So Center was offering like a 6 month free promotion. And I'm like a big dorky Marvel fan. I love superheroes, and the creator is Chris Hemsworth, Thor.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
was like, okay. So, I signed up and I fell in love with that app. They have a community on Facebook. And they have people from all over the world doing the workouts.
Nice.
Um, they have 6 week programs. So I love the fact that I have a starting point and an ending point and I can check off. It kind of keeps me accountable. They have meditations, recipes, all of that. But first, I have to say to take care of myself, I wake up, put my mushroom coffee on with adaptogens and taking my vitamins and God. I have to have God's word first because sometimes I wake up exhausted. I wake up with a negative mind. I wake up with like, I'm tired of doing this again and again. And his word speaks to me and it changes my perspective. It centers me. It completely just changes the way, like I got up that morning. So it's the first thing before working out.
It's an outdated book though. Like how could it do that?
No, no, that's the one. I think I even see it as I remember reading a lot of self-help books and all this stuff, and I tossed everything. I'm like, it's all here. He's the
Right.
best psychologist. The emotional intelligence like is so high. It has everything you need,
Mm-hmm.
like everything. So that's what has helped me the most is obviously exactly your order: God, exercise, and seeing this as a ministry. Like
Yeah.
I'll never forget, and this is a little personal, but when it comes to my daughter, but I'll never forget her starting her menstruation at 8 years old, and me changing her, and I look into her little eyes, and it just humbled me. Like she needs me. I get to serve her like God entrusted me with her. And I remember being so exhausted because, it's a lot, like in that sense when it comes to puberty. But when I looked into her eyes, it's like I felt God just telling me, she's your purpose, she's your ministry,
Wow.
this is your calling. And once that my thoughts shifted in that way, I've been able to handle this so much more differently, because you start to question, well, what about my goals? What about my wishes? What about me? What about me? It's not about me. It's about what I'm here to do, to serve for God and whatever his purpose is. And this is it, So she's my ministry. Like my girls are my ministry. And once I realized that, I kind of came to life, honestly.
Yeah. It's so interesting you say that because I had a switch like that too. When you get out of that victim mindset, especially like 4 months into this cancer
Mm,
journey, I had those thoughts like, why me? Like, why my wife? Why? And
yes,
blah, blah, blah. And it gets you nowhere. It's so ineffective. It puts you in a terrible mind space, and you start to show up very ineffective for everybody
oh,
around you.
absolutely.
But then when you
Yes.
answer that call, like, mad respect to you, it changes everything. And that's
Yeah.
why it's
And
like, how do you do without God?
you can, and not only that, who raised me. Like I'll never forget my mom. One of the like most important speeches she gave me when I would cry about this journey, and she's like, "Cry, take it to God. He can take it. Cry, get on your knees, scream at him, whatever. But stop asking why me. Stop asking that question. Ask him why." She would tell me, "Why not you? Why not you?"
Yeah.
She would humble me and she's like, he is trusting you with her. So why not you?
Wow.
Stop asking yourself, what about me? Shift your mind, shift your perspective. He trusted you with my Leah, because that's what she was saying, my Leah. And that is a gift that he found you capable of her, of taking care of her. So stop asking why me and say, why not me?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that speech because that one was like, it humbled me, It's those hard truths that you're like, either they convict you or they offend you. But when, if they convict you, then you're on the right path. You're
And,
supposed to feel convicted.
and like you said, if they offend you, then there's probably pride there.
Exactly. Yep. We need to kind of, take that off, get rid of it because it's not going to serve you in any shape, way, or form.
Uh, wow, what would you? We can close it out. Well, I'm sure we could talk forever, but
Yeah.
you got a birthday girl.
Yeah, I know.
What what would you say to any other moms or families out there that are going through a journey like yours? Like what advice or what would you want them to know?
I've done a lot of unlearning, and I thought I knew it all as a teacher. I was like, this journey's going to be easy for me. I grew up with a cousin who has profound autism. My mom was a caregiver to said cousin. I this is going to be cake for me. It wasn't. You're never going to be an expert, to starting off, but you do become an expert to your own child. Don't let anyone take that away from you. Doesn't matter who tries to tell you about autism. Doesn't matter who tries to tell you about what autism is supposed to represent, the way it's supposed to look. No, you advocate for your child based on your child. And honestly, the most important thing now for me would be like, once your child is diagnosed, go check for medical things immediately. Immediately. If you can, find yourself an integrative doctor, biomedical functional, that is willing to do a whole medical test from head to toe to make sure that you're not dealing with things that are more than autism. I'm not saying that it's not autism, but what I try to tell people, it's like, what if that's not your child's true neurotype? Something is making things worse. Don't just accept it immediately. Dig deeper first because it's a lot easier when they're younger, because imagine an adult to try that's profoundly autistic to withdraw blood. It's not easy, let me
No,
tell you. When they're smaller, you can investigate deeper. Forget the noise about like it's just a neurotype. No, it's not always just a neurotype. It's not always just autism. Look up TACA, the Autism Community in Action, learn about all the comorbidities, underlying issues, things that unfortunately can come with autism. Work with those first so you can give your child the best opportunity of a best quality of life ever. Don't just accept it. Don't just accept it. Even though the main focal point here is acceptance. Yeah, you can accept your child and accept eventually once you can say, I did it all. I
yeah.
tried it all. I looked for everything and this is what it is. But you can say, you know what, I did it all and this is what it is. Then you accept, but don't accept immediately.
Why do you? Man, one more question. So why is there such tension around that word like healing or cure when you think
Because
about like we're just trying to do better?
because anybody with an autism diagnosis wants to attribute themselves to that and choose to feel offended when it's not about them. You see, when I was young, when I heard the word autism, I would first and only think of my cousin and others like him. Those that didn't speak, those that were in a self contained classroom. That's who I thought of immediately.
That's who I
They've
think
been,
of.
yes, they've been erased. We're not trying, or people are not trying to cure neurodivergence, level one autistics who are on the computer talking to us, who are advocating. And that's the issue that needs to really be just conquered because I'll give you a quick example, and it ties into this. There was an autistic interning at government's official's office, so legislation, I believe. And they saw what was written out, and it said the term including those with profound autism. And it was as in to include them in studies, to include them in research, to make sure that they were also included. So they used that term for legislation. This individual, autistic, low support needs, found that very offensive. She argued with the legislator, like, you can't sign this, you cannot accept it. This is offensive, it's wrong. And so the legislator felt, pressured to remove it. So they changed the way it was worded, and you would never even think that they were forcing you to include those with profound autism in studies anymore. Or it said others who something something, like completely no way you would even think to make sure they were included. That resulted in them being included less in research in years. We've gone from the 90s to, I believe it was 92% or 97, and then in the early 2000s to 32%, and then now 6%, because of And that's where advocacy can be very just, they need to just not lead with emotion in their advocacy or lead in feeling offended, because they are causing harm and disservice to those that need the most help.
Right.
So
Right.
stop associating yourself with the word cure, with the word cause. We're not talking about you. They're not talking about you. They're talking about those that are impacted the most. How can we avoid getting to that point? How can we avoid them, someone having profound autism, not autism, low support needs?
Mm-hmm.
It's not about you. So stop. Your advocacy should not be what about meism. It's about them, about people like my cousin, my daughter, high support needs. That's what's going on. And if they keep leading by feeling offended, or advocating by leading offended, advocating by their emotions, advocating by only themselves or perspective, it's never, we're never going to help the ones that truly need it the most.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you get those trigger words like horror show. Everybody freaks out. But,
Oh yeah,
you
but
know,
I've
you
I've
talk to,
seen moments that have felt like a horror show.
yeah.
They're
Yeah.
not talking about the child. They're talking about
The
the
situation.
the situation that autism can bring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen like, for example, I'll never forget, as a child, my autistic cousin with profound autism launched himself on his grandpa and bit him right here, and it was us three there in the house. I don't know where my aunt or other family was. And he was an elderly man. My cousin, the sibling, was trying to get him off. I was in freeze mode. I didn't know what to do, and I was screaming, and he started hitting my cousin, trying to get him off. The grandpa was screaming, and that was a horror show for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen those moments. I understand what they're saying. They're not calling your child a horror show. They're not calling autism in general. They're talking about those moments that come with profound autism. I'll remember my cousin getting him off, and then, feeling bad for like hitting his brother to get him off his grandpa, and crying, hugging his brother. I'm sorry for hitting you. I'm sorry. It was a horror show moment.
Mm-hmm.
Those, and that's, people need to just stop with choosing to feel offended. Those experiences exist, and that's who they're talking about.
Right. And I, countless situations like that in the classroom
Yes.
where it's like the first 6 hours a day, you can't not look over your shoulder all day. And then the amount of fight or flight and stress that brings upon you for a parent that does that 24/7, even when your kid's at school, it's still there. It's not like,
Yes.
oh, they're
But
going to school, they're gone, I get 5 hours, I don't, it's hard to shut it off.
oh, it is, especially if you're getting calls, especially
Mm-hmm.
if your phone rings, and, there's that mindset of like, I'm never going to, victimize myself with my child's autism. I'm like, no, but you could be a co-victim. I have the battle scars to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen the sibling, your other child crying, begging for that moment
Yeah.
to stop? That's,
That's
if you
hard.
have not been through those things, then it's better if you don't say anything, because you don't know what other families are dealing with. And again, that's what the focal point is about, and it's about them.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for being on. This was a blast.
No, yes, yes, it was. Thank you so much for having me.
Where can you be found?
Instagram, praying through autism. It kind of just started as a prayer page, and in honor of my mom too, because she used to pray for, me every morning and my daughter to have a good day. And then she started praying for other autism parents, just because she would see so many things, and, my aunt and all of that,
Yeah.
my aunt will go through. So that's what it's named. But now it's, it's information, prayers for you, and support, and all of
Yeah. Awesome. Well, keep. Thank you so much. Oh, I mean, all your content, I love it. It's
that. Thank you.
especially seeing. I mean, I learned a lot from it, seeing all the medical side of things, and
Well,
I
thank you
think,
for being open minded, honestly. And
yeah,
it's sad because I got a lot of messages telling me, I feel like you do, but I'm nervous to talk about it. I went through that. You have no idea how many messages I got on the side of moms I didn't expect were on this, like, agreed, but they were too scared to even like my post, or they were too scared to share it. And that tells you what the autism community itself is doing to each other, because there's moms that are silent, that believe or have been through what I've been through, but they won't say it because they're afraid of the bullying that comes with it. So, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there because I couldn't believe how many messaged me privately.
Yeah, well, keep putting it out there.
Yes,
you're
yes.
you're a courageous mom and a
Thank you.
great voice to be out there. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I We'll be in touch.
We'll be in touch. We'll do maybe a part two. You let me know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'll have to
Thank
get
you so
get
much.
an update. Yeah.